Okay. Can you get ready just to turn this off if I get feedback? Just to, not turn it off, but just turn it down, because if it's feedback, it's a pain in the neck.
Yeah, sure.
Well, a very good evening. Whoops. A very good evening, everybody. This is Gulf Harbour Radio, Patricia and David, on a quite pleasant evening here at Gulf Harbour. On and off rain during the day, but it's quite pleasant now. Dry, 15 degrees. I always like to give you that so that you feel good that you've made the effort to get away somewhere warm. 1012.2 on the bar, and virtually no wind, about 2 knots of westerly wind here, although I noticed a couple of boats that have gone out are getting about 12 to 15. We've got about 50% cloud cover. It'll get worse because we've got fronts approaching tomorrow. Well, as per usual, I'll start, I suppose, with the COVID news. South Australia goes into lockdown at 6 p.m. their time tonight. They've had the 5th case of COVID, so it's sort of out there, and they want to do their best to not get in the position of New South Wales, which is still getting about 80-odd cases a day, and they are certainly solidly into lockdown there. Fiji, of course, has still got its problems around the 1,000 COVID cases per million of population. I think it's averaging about 780 to 900 cases a day, and they have had 113 deaths. But the whole vaccination process is going really well. The drive-through at Nandi Airport is got a lot of people there today. So all that's going well, and I think their first jab is 68% of the population now, which is really good going, certainly a lot better than here. And interesting, the AstraZeneca one, I see that there's a couple of months in between the first and second, whereas with our Pfizer one, it's 3 weeks. So quite different there. Canada have opened up to vaccinated travellers, so there's an incentive for getting the vaccination if you want to go down into the States or anywhere else for that matter, or come into Canada, make sure you're vaccinated. Everyone, of course, is looking at Britain, that have now lifted most of their COVID-19 restrictions, despite the fact that their death rate per million people is 1,900, which is really, really high. But it is pretty high in a lot of other places in Europe, like Czechoslovakia. Australia, it's at 35.8, and New Zealand, it's 5.39. I read quite an interesting article before about the problems with the military working with government agencies here in New Zealand. The New Zealand military are helping out in all of, I think, our 30-odd quarantine facilities, and evidently they're not meshing too well with other government agencies that are involved. Certainly the government agency thinks the military is definitely from Mars. The military have adopted land-based warfare doctrine, and so have a totally different culture and language to the civilian world in which they're working in now. For example, they don't bother with please and thank you for the sake of brevity. They use a lot of acronyms, and civilians evidently don't jump to when a request is made. Yeah, David tries that around here sometimes and has the same problem. Civilians don't know the difference, in some cases, between the various military forces involved, Army, Navy and Air Force. I would have thought the uniforms would have made it quite obvious. But worse, they can't recognise rank, and they don't seem to bother with taking any notice of it, even if they do. They tend to go by leadership skills, and of course most often the NCOs in the military have far better leadership skills and interpersonal skills than the ranking officers. They certainly have more practice at it. So anyway, there's been a lot of problems with trying to get a mix of military into the civilian society that they're now working in. So I got quite a chuckle out of reading the article. Okay, there's not much news coming from the boats. There's a couple actually coming from the east. Sururu, a US boat, that's at 169 west at the moment, and Gina from Croatia. I had to look up that symbol, Croatian. They're at 166 west, look as if they're going to go into Savu, but who knows. There's also a boat, Adventure, from Belgium. It's down at 19 south and 166 west, but it's heading southwest. So I'm assuming it's coming to New Zealand, but who knows? It might just be the wind direction. We'll wait and see. And of course, there's the 14 boats that left the Galapagos, all spread out towards the Marquesas. A couple have in fact left New Zealand, but it doesn't look as if they're going to Fiji. Chimera is heading to Australia. It's anything from 7 to 8 knots on a course of 252. They left Opua yesterday. There's a lovely picture of them on the AIS taken in Milford Sound in March last year. It's quite a long boat. Doesn't say what it is, but it does look pretty long, monohull. And then there's Zoe, a Dutch boat, left Tauranga yesterday as well. It could be going to Fiji. It's on a course of 087 doing 4.4. It's quite a long boat, 17 metres by 8 metres, so a catamaran, I guess. It's unusual for the Dutch to have a catamaran. But anyway...
could be going to French Polynesia.
Well, they could be, but then they've got a north wind, so... but they probably wouldn't have, because I think they're going to have a north wind for quite some time, aren't they? So, yeah, I think you're right. They probably are going to French Polynesia. So they must have had their COVID vaccine by now. Anyway, if anybody has any friends that are out and about going from one place to another, let me know and we can just follow them. It's always interesting to have somebody to look at on the AIS now that there's certainly a hiatus coming from New Zealand. So we'll have a look at what's going on if anybody is interested in a specific vessel. Give us an email, ghradio@extra.co.nz. That's xtra.co.nz. All right, let's see what the weather is for you guys. Here's David.
Yeah, good afternoon once again from the good old Gulf Harbour Radio weather desk here. Following the synoptic picture from yesterday, so I'm sure you were all listening, we see the entire Tasman enveloped in cyclonic flow. This is the entire Tasman. It's amazing how large this is. So basically, cyclonic flow never brings happy weather. So that, unfortunately, is what's in store for us. East of Sydney, a very small depression has developed within this flow, with a traditional warm front and cold front pushing to the north and east. Tomorrow I see nothing but fronts and troughs. Much of this over New Zealand, and all that will be extending north to New Caledonia and Vanuatu. A secondary low develops tomorrow at 30 south and 175 east. So that's just sort of south-southwest of Fiji. This is a little feature, but it still manages to push north a cold front and a warm front. Up in the good old tropics, a couple of active troughs are quite evident over the Solomons. Another trough runs from Rotuma to Tokelau, fairly active. Another active trough still lies over Raoul and the Kermadec, just like yesterday and the day before, and that runs to Vanuatu and onward from there. And there is yet another that lies just to the southwest of Fiji. Doesn't look like it's going to get to Fiji, but it's sitting out there. And, well, talking about Fiji, taking a quick look there, I see a fairly nice bit of breeze. Easterlies, we'll call it, 15 to 20 knots. This is enough wind, however, to produce moderate to even rough seas, and we'll see moderate to southerly swells. Satellite imagery shows scattered cloud, and that's enough to produce scattered showers, especially over the larger islands. Still expect cool evenings. That's quite nice for sleeping, I'm sure. You appreciate that. Very poor weather for Rotuma. If anybody is wanting to go up there, and nobody so far that we know of is heading up in that direction. But anyhow, the active trough is sitting right over Rotuma, and anyone there can certainly expect rain, plenty of squalls, and thunderstorms. Sticking my neck out a little bit, I was just looking at the future for Fiji, and a few people like been a lot of gotten their dive tickets. So that some of the crew have gotten their certifications. And if you're looking for some really flat water, calm breezes, I'm looking at Sunday and Monday. Again, I'm sticking my neck out on that one, but the air looks fairly mellow, talking about anywhere from 10, 11, 12 knots like that. So that with some luck, they're easterlies. They look like easterlies. So if you want to plan a dive with really nice water conditions, that could be the time to do it. That's a ways out, and that can change, but we'll keep you informed on that. And that's it for me, and I'll pass that on to the chief.
Well, I don't know that you'll hear too well because I hear that somebody, unfortunately, is using Pactor. We have always asked people who are out there to not use Pactor at this time. It's only 15 minutes that you can just tie-ho on the old Pactor. So if someone's using Pactor in the anchorage, then I guess you're not going to hear anything we say anyway. All right, is there anybody that wants to make contact with us? Please call. Oh, hello, Charles. Go ahead.
David, good to hear you. Another warm day. Been outside on Rainbow Reef. Winter place called White Cloud. 50-meter dive and just exquisite rock coral. Had a fantastic time. And a little free advert for the dive academy here at Gioni Bay. They're just awesome and have been super friendly and very, very helpful. Just a quick comment about the COVID vaccines here. Initially, there was a 12-week test, which they narrowed to 10 weeks, and now they brought it down to 8 weeks. So 8 weeks between your second injection. So that's the current status. Over.
Yeah, thanks for that. And it certainly sounds like I don't recall seeing any soft corals around that area. So the area around Gioni Bay there that you went to, White Cloud, a 30-meter dive, quite pleasant especially for the new ones. So yeah, that sounds good, and it does sound as if the Dive Academy there at Gioni Bay is doing a great job. It's a good spot to go for something like that because of the options of different dives that are not too far away. So thanks for that, and yes, a confirmation that it is a 2-month gap between your first and second AstraZeneca jab, so I hope all that goes well. I forgot to ask you, did any of you folk have any reactions to the jab? Over?
Some members of the crew felt a little pharyngeal and muscle cramps and flu-like symptoms for 24 hours afterwards. Fantastically recovered. It all sounds like it was the extra vaccine as opposed to sterile water they tried.
Yeah, all right. So that's 24 hours is nothing to worry about, so that's good. Yes, we're interested to know what happens on the second jab of the Pfizer because people like us have had no reaction at the first one except for a bit of a sore arm for a couple of days. Are evidently there's probably likely to be a bit more reaction on the second one with headaches and things. But anyway, we'll wait and see. It's not for a while yet. Okay. Oh, well, it sounds like it was a real good day there on the Gioni Bay area. So thanks for the report. And we'll clear with you and see if there's anybody else wanting to say hello and tell us what they're doing.
Go on the radio, this is Sid.
Castile, well, good evening, Paul. How is everything with you guys now that you are presumably able to get out and do things, over?
Everything's well, but not quite able to get things yet. We are still in our quarantine. We've had our COVID test yesterday, so awaiting results.
Oh, okay. But they did take account of your time at sea, I presume, over?
Yes, they did, but they couldn't test us on Sunday, so waited till Monday, and now just waiting for the labs to process it.
Oh, Roger, yes. I know they've got a lot better testing facilities now because of the additional machines that they've got, but it sounds like from what I've read in the paper that they're still quite slow at getting the results back. I bet you're all panting at the bit to get going. So what are your plans? Which areas are you going to go to first, over?
Oh, yeah, we do. We can't wait. Probably somewhere close. Maybe nothing close to begin with, just for everyone's feet leads and things. Yeah, little feet lead walking.
Oh, that's good. You may not know the answer to this, but I wondered if Moxie had any problems with the fact that they were not on the AIS for most of their trip. Did that cause any problems? Have you talked to them, over?
No, I'm not sure. I'm in contact with them down at the quarantine and group here, but no, we haven't discussed that.
Oh, roger that. Yeah, I would be interested to know how they dealt with that. All right. Oh, well, thank you for coming up, and glad that you're very, very close to being cleared through, so that will be good. So you guys have a good time. Clear with Castile. Is there anybody else? No, nothing here. A pretty good propagation tonight, actually, from both boats, so that's good. Often it's not all that good, although it tends to be good from that side rather than the southern side. So that's it from us. We will be back again tomorrow, 5:15 usual time, and we will clear the frequency. Until then, you're welcome to use it, anybody, to make contact. So have a good night. This is Gulf Harbour Radio. We're clear.